So if you're anything like me, guys, you love that big aggressive wall of sound type of vocals that come with metal and any type of different offshoot of metal, whether it be deathcore, metalcore, death metal, whatever the case. And it's sounding something like this. And today that's what I'm going to be talking about, is how to go about layering vocals and the techniques that I preferentially use to achieve sounds like that, and just how to layer vocals, period. Now, disclaimer, I will say, like, obviously the techniques and things that I use are not necessarily better than anybody else's. The cool thing about music production is it's all very much however you want to get about something is the way to do it. And there's a million different ways to do it. There's not set rules with music production. So I'm in here in Studio One, and I've got a track here that I was doing vocals for. This was a vocal. This was actually a really cool track that was like based on like The Conjuring. This was a track that I was doing vocals for actually a viewer had sent me this track. So this was a ton of fun. And one thing that you can see here in the DAW is I've got my main vocal line. And the main vocal line is how I kind of approach and go about it, is I have one line where I have just vocals, period. And that's the main take. And I will comp this main take. And if you don't know what comping is, all comping is you're doing multiple takes of one passage or phrase or whatever the case is, and then you kind of listen to all of them back and you pick and choose different parts. If you didn't like one thing in one take but you liked it in another, you can kind of pick and choose and dissect and include that to be one giant take. And if you look here, that's pretty much how I approached all of these. And I comp in a way to where, Studio One has a really cool thing where you have these takes. If you see here, it pulls your take and it keeps track of them. So, I don't think that like Logic and other things have that. But I go a step further and I have a bunch of different vocal channels all set up the same. So that way I can just hit that vocal section right there. Some people might prefer to punch in to do it. I don't prefer to do that. I find this technique a little bit better where I just record it on a separate channel. Again, it really is up to your decision. But that's how I go about recording that main track. Is I'll have all of that recorded. And here's just my main takes. And so there's nothing really. So all of these were my main bass takes. So that's the kind of first thing I wanted to point out, is you have a main take, your main vocal line. And then from there, that's where you start adding different things. Now, if you look here, for example, in this part, that was really bad. I had that backed up. I think I clicked it earlier when I was getting in. Anyway, so if you look here, I've got these layered parts. Now, this is still part of the main vocal line I've got, because I've got all of my main channels, my main vocal channels, running to my Vox main bus. And then I have all of the harmonies and different things that I do on that as well, going to this vocal harmony bus. And those are being routed into one vocal main bus, like a full actual main bus. With all the processing and stuff on that, I'm not going to go over that quite a lot, obviously. I'm not going to cover that in today's video. And if that's something you want to see, where I kind of go over processing a vocal chain, let me know in the comments. I'm happy to do it. But anyway, that being said, I've got these two takes. And this is the kind of the meat and the bones of what I wanted to get to. Having different vocal layers, or where you're doing the same doubling take, you're doing the exact same take the exact same way, is a really good strategy to bolster the sound and give it that thickness. And so let's just play that section and see what we did here. And that climb, right? So let's see what sounds like. Okay, so yeah, it's that same climb, I'm pretty sure. I think it's the exact same climb. Yeah. So, and let me do that. Let's see that one. Let's see if this one is just the same climb. Yeah, so it's just 3 takes. It's just 3 takes of the same thing. Now, the important key here to notice is that I'm not going to pull this fader down on this one because, you know, I'm using this one to speak on. But the fader levels are important when you're doing these doubles, especially on same exact parts. It's really critical in this manner. Because if they're too loud and that level's too high, you see this one's negative 8.3, you know. If it's too loud, it starts to become muddy and those frequencies start to lay on top of each other and it starts to become nasty. Whereas if you kind of listen to it over and over again and you know, can check it out. So for example, you hear how I increased the fader level and I did it just kind of gradually as I was listening to it over and over again, and it kind of started to get more muddy. Whereas if I'm back down here at 8, you know, negative 8.4 or whatever, it really just gives it that more impact. It gives it that drive. It gives it that, oh, that's something that, for the listener, it gives it that thing, okay, that's important, or that's supposed to be really impactful. It's like, whoa. It gives it that kind of wow factor. So when you're layering, it's really important to make sure those levels are correct. And of course, your vocals should already been gain staged to begin with before you even started recording, but again, a different video altogether. But it's really important to get your fader levels right on your doubles. Now, we'll move to your harmonies, to like doing like harmony stuff. So let's do that beginning part that I let you guys listen to, the We Are Legion part. Because that was, you know, let's see where that was. Because I had multiple channels for the harmonies here. Oh, yeah. Okay. So multiple level harmonies. And what's important here is that I have all of these running to a bus. And again, all of these levels are done. The things I like to do with my harmonies is I like to have 2 channels going left and right at 50. And I've got 2 channels here going full pan left and right all the way out. And there's a cool plugin called Center. If you wanted to use that. Oh yeah, Center. Here we go. Center's a really cool plugin because you can adjust the levels, obviously, in your sides and your mids. You know, and you can adjust really how that goes, and you know, the punch, high, low adjustments. Really super cool plugin, and I really like to use it on buses, like, you know, for the harmonies, the vocal harmonies, to help it really kind of stand out on the sides as opposed to, you know, just muddling up the center. You know, muddling up the ends. So what I'll do though is I'll go ahead and pan those out for 2 channels, and then, you know, I'll have really that set up to give it the width of the vocal and just really kind of raise the impact. So if you listen to just this part again here. Yeah, so we'll listen to just the harmony part here. So we'll check this out and see, give it another listen. So if you listen to that, just the harmonies by itself, and then you add the full main. There you have it. And the concept of really that is that you want the width as really, just give it the I guess the best way I can say, the thickness, the girth, that big wall of sound. And it's the same for, I think there's one other part that I really liked in when I did this. Let me find it during this thing. Yeah, so right here, like during the chorus part, where it's doing this, where, you know, it's a big chorusy part. Hold on. Yeah, so let's listen. Yeah, so that was super cool in adding the harmonies. And really just, you hear that level of thickness and width of the vocal. conjuring. So the other part I really liked it is right here. That's farther back. There's like a darkness reigns thing that I did. That's a super cool part. Right here. Okay. Yeah. So, you know, I've got these harmonies, and you see how thick that actually created that low part, and then how it created that dynamic. Whoa, like that's big, and it's leading up to. I'm gonna go and play this just because it, you know, it was fun. Had to put a little bit of a brie in there, you know. But anyway, guys, that's really the kind of meat and bones of layering vocals, and you know, there's a little bit more nuance to it, but that's my approach. I mean, that's the way that I go about layering vocals. Is having that one main track, comping the parts, and finding what the best takes are from the 6 or 7 or 8 takes that I do, and really kind of meshing them together. And then going through and saying, okay, where do I need to do a double at? And figuring that out and saying, okay, what parts can be impactful if I do a double? And do the double there. And make sure that all of these levels are set correctly to really give the double the space to breathe. And then from there, that's when I'll add all the harmonies. You know, get the harmonies together and find out, you know, do the highs and do the lows. I think that's the last thing I'll talk about really with the harmonies too while I'm at it. Is you want to make sure your harmonies are not doubles. So you want, you know, don't usually do the same thing. If you're doing a low part, you want to add, you know, like a mid and maybe a little bit of a higher mid scream, or, you know, whatever that you're doing. Harsh vocal, whether you're, you know, like scream singing or whatever, you know, like fry screaming, whatever, you know, add the low part, the mids, and another one, and you can add a high part, and then you add a super low part. And it's just varying up and switching up the type of vocal that you're doing. And I think that will be the meat and bones of like actually making sure that your vocal layers sit properly. Again, I would highly suggest that center plugin that I showed. It really helps in creating that width, necessarily without having to worry about panning per se. In this instance, I went ahead and just did the panning. I didn't even really worry about it. But it's good to have that plugin. It's worth the few dollars that it costs, because it can help pull down the center and keep that main vocal line really popping out while you still have those harmonies on the edges. And, you know, same thing for your main vocal line. I could put it on the main bus and really lays that center, bring down the sides, because I really want that main vocal line really down the middle. Yeah, I think that's really kind of the base, the meat and bones of layering vocals, guys. Like I said, as far as everything else involved, if you want to know how to build a vocal chain or what I used for the vocal chains, you know, obviously I have quite a lot of stuff. All of this stuff has utility. It has a reason for being there. It's not just to stack stuff on it, even if it's doing like a minuscule thing. It's all there for a reason. You know, I'm not just throwing plugins on stuff just because. So if you want to know kind of what that looks like for me, I'll be happy to do a video on that. Leave it down in the comments. Let me know. And you see on each individual vocal channel, I have some plugins that are doing stuff, but as well as the main vocal bus, and on these, you know, little my vocal harmonies and vocal main buses that I have separated down before it hits the main bus. So if you liked the video, guys, hit the like button and hit that subscribe button and join me on the march to 1K subscribers. If you like this type of content, let me know in the comments as well. I'm trying to do some other stuff because I want to incorporate other type of videos and maybe be informative and doing more music stuff. You know, I'm not just a reaction channel. So, yeah, let me know if this kind of stuff is helpful, and if you enjoy it, let me know in the comments. I'll catch you in the next one.